time a nurse is spending on documentation. This is a Western data. I don't know if it's less or more here, but then definitely this is something which is significant. Trying to interpret data, even a doctor. I'm not trying to say by typing we have become artificially intelligent. What I'm trying to say is handwritten notes itself need to be or contextual made into contextual summaries. For those who haven't tried Chat GTP, try giving him a text of 3 pages and say, please summarize this in bullet points for me. You'll get a fantastic answer. You've tried that? Yeah, I'm sure many of you have tried that. So trying to make summarizing things is something which artificial intelligence does. Because a lot of medical literature is after all free text and verbal this thing. Automate the note taking and instructions, reduce the chances of misinterpreting what is written, and you can extract the right facts out of data which is there. The next clinical case is something which I believe this was done in the morning. I missed this, but this is something which was released only last month. This product has been in development for the last few years, and last year they said that we are not ready with it yet. Product made by NVIDIA again. They bought this company and it's called Hippocratic AI. And interestingly, out of the 5 or 6 co-founders, 4 of them are Indian origin. And what they've done is they realized that the nurses don't have the time to communicate well enough. Maybe they lose their cool. Maybe they're hard pressed. Maybe they don't answer the questions at the right time. And definitely there are language barriers and there are some racial barriers, maybe cultural barriers which may occur. So what they've done, they made a virtual nurse to communicate only. So this is just an example. Just a minute's video.
Hi, Sarah. I'm Rachel, your AI care manager. How are you doing after your appendectomy?
You know, I'm good. I'm glad to be home with my dog, Dennis.
It's great to hear that you're back home with Dennis. I noticed that Dr. Chang has prescribed you some antibiotics, specifically ciprofloxacin and metronidazole, due to your ruptured appendix. Were you able to get these medications?
I was. I did forget to mention to the doctor that I am allergic to penicillin. Is it still okay to take the medications?
Great question. The antibiotics you've been prescribed, ciprofloxacin and metronidazole, don't contain penicillin. So it's perfectly safe for you to take them. Can you begin taking them today?
Yeah, I certainly can. Do you have any tips for faster recovery?
Given that you have diabetes, keeping your blood sugar levels in check will be beneficial for your wound healing. Your hemoglobin A1C was at a healthy level of 5.5, but your glucometer readings from yesterday were a bit on the high side. So keep taking your metformin and try to steer clear of foods high in carbs. How does that sound to you?
I think I'll be able to avoid the carbs for the week. You know, I need to go right now, but it was great talking to you.
I'm glad we had this talk. I'll pass along your progress to Dr. Chang.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
So this is a tool which has been commercially launched by NVIDIA. And as I said, NVIDIA is the company which actually has the largest amount of GPUs. All the GPUs in the world are actually mostly sourced from here. So this is a screenshot from their website, where if you see, you have various type of nursing tasks like pre-op, counseling, discharge. This is only for communication. Nutritionist role, chronic care, pharmacy, so what is the average cost of nursing they try to work out in US is around $45 per hour for a nurse. So they have offered this product on the market for $9 an hour. And what this means is essentially they are replacing part of our role. And again, as I said, remember, money drives medicine. Let's be very, very clear about it. It's an altruistic profession, all right, but money has driven us all through. And this is where you realize that the companies have started, hospital chains have started saying, okay, let's for this particular role, let's use this instead of a nurse, real nurse. Because the amount of, and what they do is, they very cleverly, what they do is they have the rating done by people which are the humans. And they'll say, okay, you use this for free. You use this for free for 6 months and they give a rating. And based on that rating, they start selling this product. So this is something, and just to suit, you will have various type of, for example, various types of nurse which can address various cultural identities. And you will have ratings, you will have what is the particular pre-op colonoscopy communication of what has to be done, offered. You can just hire this as a hospital chain, as a particular task. And this is where they have tried to replace for the communication part. The next place where nurses can use AI or healthcare can use, if I can broaden that concept, is better patient monitoring. The ICU is a very complex ecosystem, you all know. And with more and more parameters coming in, you need to start integrating and start using and analyzing those parameters and make a decision finally out of it. You also have now these IoT devices, or we call them medical Internet of Things devices, which people are either wearables, which we've been talking about since morning. And all these intelligent monitoring using various sensors need to be analyzed and made a judgment out of it. So what has happened is a lot of these judgments have been done using AI models, where the AI can identify who is the patient who needs more priority. If there are 8 patients and there's a single nurse, which is the one which needs to be attended to first, using various algorithms. They can even predict a critical event. Why the question mark? Because you see, one thing which we need to understand, the AI is, after all, not an algorithm. We've been using the word algorithms wrongly when it comes to AI. And AI is a black box. There is an input, there is an output. What is happening in that black box? That algorithm has not been worked out. If algorithm-based AI is something entirely different. The AI which we are talking about is the processing is taking place. But yes, statistically, it correlates with a very, very high degree of output from the input correctly. So it's got a very high degree of sensitivity and predictability. Having said that, we don't know what's happening inside. I'll give you an example. Suppose you have data of 2,000 patients who have walked into an ICU, and every bit of data is being picked up by this AI tool, is being fed in this data. And one of the data which was being fed in, rightly, wrongly, or whatever, was maybe the color of the slipper this person wore when he entered the ICU. Okay, just to give you a random example. And the machine finds that be important whether this person is likely to die faster. That's how AI works, by the way. It doesn't have, you do not know whether what parameter it has used to make a judgment. So this black box might simply say, this next guy is coming with a green slipper, better watch out. Now, as a human or as a person, you need to understand that this has to be interpreted in the right context. But this is how AI actually works. There is a black box. You go and ask the AI scientist, he will never be able to explain to you what are the various layers and how you're really reaching a conclusion. Statistically, it is correlating. You may have already you must have read one of the papers earlier where a safety pin on an X-ray on a huge data set was misinterpreted as a malignancy, and therefore if there was a safety pin on the cloth, it started saying it's a malignancy. Remote care is getting very important because of the aging population, and this is something which we practically cannot go and do to everyone at home. The amount of readmissions which happen in hospitals really take a lot of hospital space and a lot of debt on the economy as well. So this is something which is increasingly being used and will be used and has got a wonderful use case where we've got people who are being monitored by IoT devices, medical IoT devices at home using various type of tools. And you have an early warning system and you have a nurse to monitor them. If there is something, you tell them, okay, I think you better come and see a doctor. So this is something which is coming up in a big way. And a lot of companies have invested in this. It reduces the readmission rate and leads to a better quality of life and outcomes. I think that's also important in the elderly, which is very important rather. So this is something which has been validated using many multiple studies. We've been talking about some meta-analysis since morning. So these are ones which have been done. We've seen this stall outside, but this is something which is very important. Creating scenarios. I'll not say the word, this is virtual reality. This is not same as AI, but using or creating virtual scenarios as you are getting trained of how it responds of other various type of situations which may occur being posed up is something which AI can do very well. These scenarios may not be real, but at the same time, these are scenarios which can be put up before the learner, and simulation training, which is there, which is complex in nature, can be, and it can adapt to your learning path. So it is something which can adapt very well, which if it's getting tough for you or it's not getting tough for you, so it adapts on the fly. So something which is called personalized tutoring. The last line is important, and this is something which you need to carry. Remember, the nursing profession needs AI to get over a lot of these challenges. At the same time, understand that the AI also needs you. The AI technology needs you. And what does it need you for? Two main things: the accurate, correct data, which was taught to us by Florence Nightingale, getting the accurate, correct data. And the next thing we need to do is to interpret whether that is making sense. So these are the two things you must understand, that in training, we simply can't blindly say that this is right. There's a lot of opportunities for research, and a lot of you will be doing this, starting off with surveys of acceptability and KAP surveys, but something which we need to look at when we are talking about AI and how it pertains to the nursing profession, that develop and identify the use cases. That's very important. See, the industry which is making the use cases does not have a perspective, does not have the correct perspective. They will try to sell down everything as if now it's going to change everything. So you need to identify which are the use cases, where AI can change my work pattern. Data is the oil of the AI engine, and something which you need to understand. The opportunity of research is trying to identify biases which may creep into systems. Doing outcome analysis, whether the outcome which came was different or not, because everything which is, remember, AI is also a product. A lot of these things which you are getting is a product, and they'll be always said this is better. I'll give you an example in ENT, for example. Now the latest thing is AI enabled hearing aids. So many times you really ask them, what is AI enabled? So then you realize it's just something which, when during their development, they train the model on something, and therefore they're using the tag AI. It doesn't really change much, but yes, it changes the price tag. Ethics related research, as we've been talking about. This is something which has been already mentioned. This is a fantasy, like this, how it work schedule should be, but this reality is like this: on call, staff meeting, it never happens. And in US, there are a lot of burnout rates, which is because of this. And there's a app which has come out, which is called Shift Advisor. It is more like a stock exchange for nurses, where you can bid and say, okay, I'm willing to do this duty, and this is the rate of that time. So many of you may have been to a couple of bars where you can even bid for a particular drink at a different rate, but something like that. So this is a very interesting thing. It's AI driven. Why? Because it knows what are the requirement of nurses across various chain of hospitals, and now it's giving you the flexibility. Okay, fair enough, I'm free this weekend, let me earn some extra money. You have a minimum number of hours to do. So this is something which they have done. It's called Shift Advisor. The idea being, the previous slide, the burnout, to reduce this. We'll just talk about ethics. Is it ethically right? Now you see, ethics is a very relative word. Imagine this bot, or imagine this robot today sitting and looking at this tablet from the Egyptian times. It's seeing what? It's seeing people being whipped and trying to make a building. For what? He doesn't know. But this is also ethically correct that time. So ethics is something which is a function of time and a function of a generation. We don't have to go far. We have to just go 200 years back, and child labor had laws in favor of it. Today we have laws against it. Similarly, we need to understand AI is something which will also change our ethics with time. So the ethics of AI today is very important, the biases which the system may have. And this biases may be because it is the data which you feed in. So garbage in, garbage out. So it basically depends on the volume and the type of data which you're feeding. You might be feeding entirely wrong data. Sadly, one day might come, we start getting used to an AI tool, that there is no capable person left to really reanalyze whether what we are talking is sense, and he'll keep feeding that data again and again and keep propagating and making a tool which is based only on a parameter which may not be linked altogether. Suppose there was a treatment of bloodletting at a particular time for fever. Suppose AI existed during that time, and we did an AI based tool on when to do bloodletting. If it have carried on and on and on till such time, person would have really done a proper scientific way of understanding it. Is it really making sense? So AI is a black box which you again need to remember. Privacy, we have been talking since morning. Confidentiality of data and the human autonomy. Transparency, it's a black box. It's not transparent at all. They also don't know how it's working. Then accountability, is it accountable? Suppose an AI gives you an answer, if this patient needs this particular drug correction, and you do it, and something adverse reaction, who's responsible? Who's responsible? The healthcare professional. Okay, the AI is not responsible. The developer is not responsible.